himself into a tittle. He calls himself tittle. Funniest shit I've ever seen.
Hello, welcome to LTM Reviews, where I get you caught up on the oldest movies. Let's talk about The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat, the sequel. So, back in Ralph Bakshi-thon, one of the movies that I reviewed was Fritz the Cat, and it was the first X-rated film, X-rated animated film ever made. And it brought in a lot of inspiration for a lot of adult cartoons, and everyone wanted to be as filthy and raunchy as they could be, just like Fritz the Cat at the time. But we're not here to talk about some of the rip-offs. I'm here to talk about the sequel that everybody's been wanting me to check out, and it's called The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat. So, while I thought the first one was passable. It's not great. It has its problems looking back, but I still enjoyed it, and it is a weird experience for what it is. So this one, I don't know. I can't say I like it as much as the first one, because this one really jumps all over. While the first movie had like 4 or 5 things going on at once, this one has like 8 or 9 things. The first one, so Fritz, he's married, he's got a child now who constantly tries to act just like Fritz, and his wife is like, where do you get all the money to buy all this drugs or grass or whatever? And then now he has to experience his 9 other lives. So one of his lives, he's like a therapist to Hitler. Gosh, there's like so many things going on. He's at a black house, and then there's one where he's in the White House, and then there's one where he goes into space, and then there was one where he's like meeting his old friend Duke, who died in the first one, and then comes back for a visit, which is basically a cameo. And I couldn't really follow it myself because it just jumps all over. Like this one, like I gotta get the first one credit. It kind of jumped all over a bit, but you kind of understood what the story was about. I mean, I can give you the basic plot of Fritz the Cat. It's a college student who wants to learn the life as being a hippie. This one, he's experiencing his 9 other lives, and that's very simple enough. But what about the things that happen? Like I said, the stuff with the space and therapy and stuff like that. It's just all over the place, and I can't even understand what the big plot was. It just jumps all over. Fritz is not as charming or likable as he was in the first. I will admit he was kind of a jerk in the first one, but you kind of had an idea of what his ego was and why he kept doing all those things. Here, he's just being a jerk for the sake of being a jerk, and you don't really care for it much of this movie. And then there's this, and at the end he meets the devil, and then he gets kicked out of his wife's house, and then he has like a flashback of all the things that he's done, and then at the end he says, "This is like the worst life I've ever had," and then that's how the movie ends. It's short for about an hour and 17 minutes. It's a pretty short movie. The first one was like an hour and 20 minutes. I can't remember, but it was like this one's like an hour and 17 minutes. Pretty short movie. What do I like in the movie? The animation is atmospheric. I like some of the designs. I like its satire of the 1970s, and kind of like how the first one was like a parody or satire of the 1960s. But the characters, the side characters, I could care less about. At least in the first one, I did like at least, I'm not going to say all the characters were great, but at least I did like a couple of them, like the pig cops, Duke, and that's all I cared about in the first one. And Fritz was just unlikable, and the rest of the characters I didn't care about. But at least unlike that movie where I liked 1 or 2 characters in the first one, this one I didn't care about anybody at all. I could care less about the side characters. I could care about the wife. I could care about Fritz. I could care less about the devil. I don't know. I could care less about that one guy. I could care less about Hitler. I don't know. I don't care about any of these characters. None of them I'm going to be very remember anytime soon. Bland and generic. That's all they are. So overall, 9 Lives is not a bad movie. Like I said, it's atmospheric. It's got a couple funny moments. I will say that, and I'm glad I got to see Duke again for a few minute cameo. So that was pretty good for a minute. But the story, the rest of the characters were just awful. It was just very mediocre, to say the least. I know it sounds like I'm being harsh to it, but come on, you got to do better than that. I give 9 Lives a 5 out of 10. It's not the worst sequel or anything. I've seen much worse. It's kind of disappointing. I really wish Ralph Bakshi would have came back and did this movie, because, like I said, I'm not going to say the first one was a masterpiece, but it had substance. It had its ego. It knew what it wanted to do. This movie just didn't have any of that. So, if you like the film, fine. I'm not going to judge you. So the funny thing is, though, while the first movie was X-rated, though over the years later it would have an unrated rating instead of an X, because the X is dead. This movie this was the first animated film to be shown at the Cannes Film Festival, and the first animated film ever to have an R rating. So I'll give it that. That's a big milestone for Fritz. But everything else is just corny and forgettable. Alright guys, that's 9 lives for you. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please subscribe, comment below, let me know. Sorry if I'm not wearing a shirt or anything. I know it's awkward, everybody out, but I've got a little bit of a bad sunburn right behind me, so if you can't see that, sorry, but doctor's orders. Alright guys, this is LTM signing out, and I'll see you guys next time.
Hi, Julia! It's nice to meet you!
We need to abolish the police, period.
Julia sometimes does things differently because Julia has autism!
I love it! Now try some jelly.